Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. My shirt is see-through. I need to fix that. Welcome in. Glad to see you. Welcome to the Friday stream. We're going to be working on listed. My blue screen is all off right now, so let's fix it. Let's fix it. Welcome in. We're going to write some code today. And, well, actually, we're going to write test code. So, one of the first things we're going to do today is convert our entire code base to use file extension imports. And then we'll update our end-to-end tests and try to get a lot more coverage on our end-to-end tests. Give me just a second. Better? Better. Great. Welcome in, everyone. Ave, Cesar, Mortui, Te, Salutant. I don't know what that means. But welcome in. I did not watch Microsoft Build, no. Haven't dropped into any listed streams, so is this just a speedrun video? Is this a just speedrun video? No, it's not. So we have not done any unit tests yet. We've set up end-to-end tests with Playwright, and that took quite a bit of work because basically what we needed to do was to also spin up a Docker container for our Postgres database and our Redis database when the tests are running. So basically we set it up so that every time we run the end-to-end tests, a brand new container spins up for the databases. Well, two different containers spin up for the databases that are completely fresh so that the tests are consistent. So that's a thing. And then the last time we streamed, we set up coverage reports. So coverage reports tell you how much of your code base has tests touching that piece, those pieces of code. And right now we have pretty poor coverage because we actually don't have that many tests. We have like 4 tests. So we are going to write some more tests today. We need to write tests around creating lists and updating lists. That honestly that'll give us a lot more coverage once we have that. And then also viewing existing lists. So we're going to write some tests around that. But one thing I'll show you is when we are doing a specific test to like click on a button. Like this. Right now, we are hard coding the text of the button in our test. And I don't want to do that. And there's a lot of ways that, I missed a bunch of messages. Sorry about that. There's a lot of ways that you could approach this. I don't want to use test IDs for various reasons. But what I do want to do is use the translated tokens because we are doing internationalization in the app. And it would be really nice if we could just pull in the translated string right here without hard coding it. But that is where this little piece comes into play because Playwright with TypeScript is using like the latest node way of imports. And that requires file extensions. So we're going to do that first. Yeah, what's up, Alejandro, who says, doing a coding bootcamp, new to coding, finally my first aha moment in the JavaScript section. Nice. I know what you're saying. I know some of these words. Nice. Welcome in. Let GitHub Copilot auto-generate the tests. It's helped us with a few of them. So we'll definitely turn it on when we're doing it. Windows Copilot was announced. Nice. Okay, yeah, exclamation mark theme. Yeah, somebody did. Exclamation mark theme in the chat will give you all the info about my font and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's the plan for today. We're gonna get these file extension imports and then just do more integration tests. Ideally, we're gonna get this number up to like at least 70, if not more, in terms of parts of the code that are actually run whenever our integration tests run. So that's what we want. And if honestly, this is probably going to take us the whole time. But if it doesn't, we'll start working on unit tests. Aim low. Well, we already have 54%. So that's the thing. Oh, and thank you, Alejandro. Yeah, I trimmed my mustache recently. It was like really long. It was more like Salvador Dali style. Yeah. But now it's shorter. It's shorter. Delete tests so that way we can shoot for 54%. No, I won't do that. But what are we working on? Let me show you. So this is listed. It's being built with SvelteKit. SvelteKit is a meta framework that lets you do server-side rendering and other various types of things with Svelte. So that's what we're using. For our UI, we're using Skeleton UI. So this is a UI toolkit you can use with Svelte and SvelteKit, and it's built on top of Tailwind, which is a utility library for styling elements. We have a Postgres database, and we're talking to it with Prisma. And we also have a Redis database. We're just using the plain old Redis client to talk to it. And we're talking to the YouTube API. And for authentication, we're using auth.js. So this is the port of NextAuth to work with other frameworks and not just Next.js. And so we got all this set up, and that's how we're doing auth. So in the app, you could log in with YouTube. It does the redirect. You get redirected back to the app. Now you're logged in, and then you can create lists. So that wasn't supposed to happen. Let's see. Okay, then you can create lists. And your lists have a title, a description, and then they can have specific channels on them. And so a list consists of multiple YouTube channels. For instance, this list has all my favorite cooking channels. Actually, it's only a couple of them, but I'll show you the edit feature because we can add more of them. So this list has all the videos from the Babish Culinary Universe and Maddie Matheson. And so basically on this one page are all the videos from those two channels. But you can add as many channels as you want. So let's actually edit this list and add a few more, like the Internet Shaquille. He's got a cool channel. And then also Munchies is a good cooking channel. Bon Appetit is fine. I don't watch it as much anymore, but it's fine. And there's also like You Suck at Cooking, which it's technically a cooking channel, but it's also comedy. Yeah, they fell off hard. The thing is, all of the people that work there are off doing cool things. Like one of the women that worked there is now doing stuff on the Babish Culinary Universe. What is Claire's channel? If I just search for Claire, will I find her? Yeah, here it is. Claire Saffit's Dessert Person. She used to be on the Bon Appetit channel. She does desserts and such. And I mean, I do like hot ones, but I wouldn't put hot ones in under cooking. Don't search hot ones. Oh, I'm gonna. I mean, actually, it's the First We Feast channel. So like they technically have like Tacos con Todos, where they like do tacos, and they also have like the burger show. They don't do quite as much cooking though. It does have food. Regardless, look at this. We're gonna add all these channels. We're gonna update, and now it needs to reach out to the YouTube API, and it's gonna cache all of the videos from all of these channels in our Redis database. You can see it takes a while because it's literally grabbing the metadata about every possible video from all of these channels. But they get cached for 24 hours. We've talked about we want to improve. I mean, didn't take that long because look at this. We now on one single page, we literally have every single video from every one of these channels. This is also something we're going to fix. We're going to add pagination, filtering, sorting. But now, if I ever go back to this list, where'd it go? Oh yeah, it's down here because I got updated. It takes a quick, a tiny second to load now. But now we have all of that metadata in our Redis store. How is my body after the hot one sauce? Surprisingly fine. Surprisingly fine. I was so impressed with myself. I don't know if you all might not have caught this. Let me tell you to go watch it if you haven't yet. So on the stream we did on Monday, this one, I made an agreement with chat. If I skip my break timer without taking a break, I would have to eat some spicy hot sauce. And I did. I ate the last dab Apollo. Was it Wednesday? No, this was Monday, wasn't it? No, Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Never mind, it was Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And it was really hot. And then later in the stream, I did it again, so I had to eat. Which one? I ate the Bomb Evolution. So yeah, that's the thing. Go watch the VODs if you're interested in that. What else? Yeah, so you can create all kinds of lists. So this is, I call it this like the makers list. It has a list of various makers that I like to watch. What was the gin for? So capsaicin, which is the thing that makes food spicy. It is fat soluble and alcohol soluble, which I think is a chemistry term. Maybe it exists outside of it, but basically the capsaicin molecules will bind to alcohol and will also bind to fat. So if you eat something spicy and you put alcohol in your mouth, the capsaicin will actually bind to it, and then if you swallow it, it leaves your mouth and goes into your stomach. Or if you spit it out, then it leaves your mouth. Or if you eat something high in fat content, that will get rid of it in your mouth. Like if you basically, that's why people drink milk when they eat spicy stuff, is because milk is high in fat content, and so it actually takes the capsaicin that's in your mouth and then puts it in your stomach. So that's why I had the gin. The thing is, like, that's why I was so impressed with myself. I did not even take a drink of water after doing the last dab. And then I had to do a code. I didn't mention that. I did a speed run code challenge after that. Well, if you're going to drink milk, you should get high. If you're going to drink milk to help with spicy food, you should get high fat content milk. Yeah. I've never tried honey. I don't know why honey would work though, because isn't it just like sugar? I don't know. But these are all makers. They make cool stuff. This is the list for that. Also, you could do things like the Good Mythical Morning universe. So this is, I like to watch Good Mythical Morning, but they have a bunch of other channels with other related things. Wait, what? Get high fat content is what I said, Oscar. But this one list has all those channels. And then also I like to watch Safety Third, which is William Osman, Backyard Scientist, Alan Pan, Niall Red. And so this one page has all of those channels together. That's a good question, Duprius. What happens when you click a video? You get to watch it. So you're right, I didn't do that. So let's do that. This one's funny because the title is so long. But when you click on it, it just embeds the video. We have all of the description, everything. We have more work to do here because we need to create like a description renderer that will make the links clickable and stuff like that. And then this just does the YouTube embed API right here. And then whatever video you clicked on is highlighted. But we need to work on the entire video watching experience. But before we do that, we need tests, which is why we're going to write some more tests today. Yeah, that would be really fun too, America 2050. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, basically, this page can be a whole lot more interesting too. Like, we could probably put the channel avatars all in a row here to make it more enticing to click on, or come up with or generate our own thumbnails or something like that. Deadmau5 has a cooking channel? Let's see. I've never heard of it. Can you distribute apps if you use the YouTube API? You can, but there is some terms you need to agree to for the YouTube API. So that's the thing. Deadmau5. Wait, that's not how you spell Deadmau5, is it? MAU. There, that's right. Deadmau5 unofficial? I don't know, maybe his cooking channel isn't called that. Oh well. Whoa. Do I prefer infinite scroll or regular pagination? It depends. It depends. I think for this app, infinite scroll would probably be fine. But yeah, it depends. Okay. Let's say hi to everybody, and then we'll get to code. And we'll get to work because this is work. One of the first, and like I said, the first thing we're gonna do is make all of our imports use file extensions. I'm not using your verification check API. No, I'm not. But let's say hi to everybody. Welcome everyone in, and then we'll get to code in. So if you'd like to say, if you'd like me to say hello to you in the chat, you can say hi, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hi, us up, what's up, morning, afternoon, evening, howdy, good day, coding, hi-yo, vohio, or boga hey. Say any one of those things. I'll acknowledge you. Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna go back in time to 40 minutes ago. Mark was the first to say hello. Hello, Mark. Welcome in. What's up, America 2050? And I just realized I don't have my background set. Give me a second. Great. What's up, America 2050? Hello, V. What's up, Bucha, Mitorio, and Origin, and Toasted Cheeses, and hello, Amasil and Sido. Welcome back. What's up, Xerox Gamer and HTTP404? Hello, Avi and Harshdev, and Jom, Marceloid, and Fun Planet, and Folsome Geek. What's up, Horatius, who says, how's it going? Do I ever do projects in React where I focus on security aspects? What? Are you talking about like a React app with login or something? I've done that before. Not recently, though. And then what's up, Old School Rapper and DPQ? What's up, Oscar and Moshiko? And Bite Tosha, what's up, Mr. Whiskers? And Doom and Boleknoak, and it's Bytherial and Elias. Welcome in, everyone. Glad to see you. And Bajosi, hello. Considering that it would be mostly for mobile, I think Infinite Scroll would be a better solution. Yeah, I think so too. Oh, Marshmallow has a cooking channel? Hi. Hey, what's up, Shed? All right. First things first. We need to convert the codebase to use file extension imports. And I'm going to tell you why. But I'm not going to try and make it so that we don't have to do that, because we actually spent a good bit of time last time being like, oh, we don't need file extension imports. We could just make it work. And that was a lot more work than we thought it would be. So we're just gonna bite the bullet. We're gonna pay the price now, because and honestly, this is actually pretty relevant in the world of like modern JavaScript. Everything is moving towards doing imports in the standardized ES modules way, which requires a file extension. But if you look in the Playwright docs, and you look at their section on TypeScript, you can see, yeah. no worries, Alejandro. I appreciate it. Is this the section? They specifically talk about why you need file extensions in your imports. I guess I just clicked on that. Here. Unknown file extension TS. Running TypeScript tests in type module projects requires no, that's not it. I may or may not find it, but yeah. Yeah, nice, Alejandro. Didn't know you streamed. I'll have to check it out sometime. Um Isn't node next a thing? Anybody remember what the part of the docs was? Playwright, TypeScript, import. I can't even find the page anymore. It specifically is, it's a setting in the TypeScript import, or in the TS config about how you import, or how the module setting in the TS config. I believe it was in the docs. The docs actually explain that the TypeScript support is using something like node next. Is it? Um, um, did they change the page here? I'm just gonna look at my browser history, because I really want to find the page so I can point at it and say, look, this is it. This is it. Um, I think they changed the page. I think that page I was looking at has been updated. Well, wait, where did that go? Here. Maybe. Let's see. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for the beans. Now, so the thing is, okay, the Playwright docs linked to this page, and this page talks about how the module resolution is node next in the Playwright settings, unless you override it. We tried overriding it, but that created a bunch of other issues because we have to do the whole compilation and everything else. But basically, when you use TypeScript with Playwright, the config that it generates behind the scenes, or that it's using behind the scenes, has the module set to node next. And so when you do that, now in your TypeScript code, you have to specify extensions. Yeah, so Without the extension, it only works in CommonJS. We're using ESM, so we need file extensions. Yeah. All right, did I click your link, Fun Planet? I think I did. Yeah, this is describing it, Fun Planet. You got it. Well, I think JavaScript is finally agreeing on it, right? So like for the longest time, it was like there were basically competing standards. You had CommonJS, the AMD module format. Then you had ECMAScript modules, which was standardized. Which fine. So like it was standardized in 2015. We are now 8 years later. And we're finally getting to where all the stuff in the ecosystem is using that standard that was defined back then. Name the file with .ts, but import with the .js. No way. No way. Regardless, we're gonna add file extensions everywhere. that's all. The short of it is, I know this is a thing we need to do, and once we do that, we'll be good to go. The thing is, like, that's why I. ESM support when running. Oh well. We could go back and watch the honestly we could go back and watch the VOD to see what the article was, but I don't even care about that. We want to convert the code base to use file extensions. Here's what we're gonna do. So in our TS config, we are actually gonna change our module mode to be node next. So right now, it's not set. We're gonna set module to be node next, and when I do that. Now, all over my code base, I should get type errors. There should be a type error everywhere I have an import. Like if we look at our entry point, or like one of the top level files, like just our, let's say our hooks here. It should start complaining if we don't have the file extensions on them. What? Why does this keep resizing? Module resolution bundler? This is the page. This is not the page. Where would I put this thing? Micro front-end architecture can be as simple as multiple create React apps that href to each other. Sure, yeah. I think there are frameworks for micro front-ends that help with that, but if you're not using anything like that, yeah, just little React apps that are all separate. Nice, Moshiko. That's a lot of points. Okay. We introduced the node next options for its module and module resolution settings. Okay. I mean, the reason you would want to use like a micro front-end framework is that it makes it easier to share code between the micro front-ends, because even though you want them to be separate apps, there's still pieces of the code that you want to be able to share between them. So that's typically what those things help with. All right, here's the thing. Now that we changed this to module node next, is there a module Resolution, there's not. Let's change that too. Node next. And now, if we run a type check, I think it should break in a lot of places. Ideally, this is what's going to help us with the conversion. Yeah. So it's going to complain in every single spot where we don't have a file extension. We could, we could, they changed the page? Well, thanks for checking, Fun Planet, and at least we're not crazy. Why am I importing detect locale from a JavaScript extension? That is a generated code. So we have our internationalization. Actually, you're right. Why is it .js? I18 util. You're right. That should actually be a TS. That's why we weren't getting an error though. If we do this, it's like, hey, you need to do this. We're just honestly, somebody used ChatGPT to generate a script to update our whole code base. I want to do it line by line here, one by one. Lib, Prisma. What's up, DMDY? Welcome in. No. Lib, Prisma, client.ts. We're gonna do it line by line. Or are our types wrong here again? Oof. Oof. These are other type errors that we'll have to do elsewhere. But one at a time. One at a time. Can't Copilot do something like it can, but I don't honestly. I think it's probably going to be more work to automate this than it is to just do it. Oh, maybe Vittorio. I don't. Let's see. Would if we go back to what we had, would ESLint be able to fix this? It doesn't. But you know what? We probably could enable an ESLint rule that would do that. Because right now this is a TypeScript error. Well, it can't even find it though. Let's see. ESLint import extensions. Import extensions always. That's what we want. Thanks, Fun Planet. I'll look at it in a second, but it actually is fascinating that they changed it recently. Okay, so we don't have import extensions rule. Oh, we do. So import extensions, no. What we want is import extensions always. Configuration for rule. So I think I want error always. Missing file extension. It can't auto fix those. Well, let's see, Fun Planet. Let's see where they removed the stuff that I was looking at. This relaxes import requirements and allows importing .ts files without an extension. Wait, so we don't have to do it anymore? wait. So if they removed this entire section, is there just another setting we can enable? Like if we upgrade Playwright? Okay, never mind. Like what if we upgrade Playwright and then it just starts working? I'm curious. Let's do it. The thing is, eventually we should still migrate the code base. But all right, we're just gonna upgrade Playwright test. I think maybe they figured out how to get it working without it. Maybe. Let's see. First of all, do the tests still run with the dependency updated? It's downloading all the browsers. The removal of docs was committed 2 weeks ago. I guess they only recently released it then, or only recently published it, because we saw this last Friday, so less than 2 weeks ago. Here are our tests. They all pass. Beautiful. But now, moment of truth. What we were trying to do is in the onboarding test here, I want to use, yeah, and also I want to be able to import this without, I should be able to import those without the .ts. Let's see if that works. If that works, we're golden. This is what hackers do in the movies. They run integration tests against their code base. No way. No way. Okay, well, you know what? We actually don't have to convert the code base. That's cool. I'm happy about that, but also I know that we potentially probably need to do this anyways eventually, but oh well. Oh well. Yeah, that's awesome. So, what we can do now is remove all of the TS extensions. Yeah, that's a problem for future me. I mean, we literally spent an hour just talking about fixing it without actually fixing it. But that's okay. Because now we have this little LL utility, which means in our onboarding tests, we can bring in that LL utility, which means we don't have to hard code. Let's go. We can say LL dot pages dot onboarding dot buttons dot let's go. And so now in our test, we're going to be comparing it against the translated string. So now it's not hard coded anymore. So if we ever change the token or the string that we translate it to, this test should still pass. And in our other tests, are we clicking any other buttons? Yeah, and actually we could do this. We could do a similar selector here. Yeah, well, we have it not as a fixture, but as a in the utils here. What's the difference? Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, I know there's a way with Playwright to basically add like a plugin to make those things available. I'm not sure how I feel about that though. But here, when we click this button, now we can say that this login button specifically is a thing. So import that from utils, and this will be buttons.login YouTube. Cool. All right. Do the test pass. Nice. User redirected to homepage after onboarding. Strict mode violation, get by role, resolved to 2 elements. Oh. Wait. Is it because we're not setting the locale in the test? That's probably it. Let's just do that, and then hopefully that makes the test pass. Here. So set locale comes from there. Oh, the same spot. Locale is of type locale. So the alias for lib is when we're running inside of SvelteKit. These are the Playwright tests, so they're technically using a different config. What's up, Alka? Welcome in. Thank you for the resub. It's a string, so I can just pass in English. Okay, let's see if this gets it to pass. But yeah, I think that's the main issue is this is technically not using the same TS config, because the TS config over here is the one that actually has all of these paths set. We could create a custom TS config, but I don't want to do that because then the process for running the tests would be more complex because we'd have to compile the TypeScript ourselves. Okay, onboarding buttons let's go is resolving to an empty string. Why is that? But I guess this one is passing because there's only one button on the page. So our translation strings aren't actually being brought in like we think that they are. And to prove it, let's just do a little log right here. Maybe Veeb. Yeah, let me look at the docs for the type safe I18 in. Oh, we could just import it. I see. Did it generate that for us? We need to change our config. So we have adapter svelte. Can we have 2 adapters? In the I18 svelte file. What about this? The thing is, this file is auto-generated. We need it to auto-generate the I18 in node 1 as well. Let's see. Incorrect type, expected string. Angular, Dino, node. The setup grabs the file from the repo. It's right there beside the README. Type node. Man. Okay, so this is we can't have two adapters. So let's just look at their docs for potentially like multiple adapters. Because the issue is we needed to generate the node one for whenever the tests are running. I mean, I guess we could just create it ourselves and then import from that, and that way it's not auto-generated. The thing is, what has to change about that file? I guess that file will mostly stay the same. Yeah. Well, I don't think we have to create one. I think we can literally just grab it from here. So yeah, this should be fine. I mean, if we compare the two, this one and the Svelte one. Is there not a set locale? Okay, let's try using it now. So in the utils, we're not going to import from Svelte. We're now going to import from node. And that just gives us L. Oh, and then we just access the language. Fascinating. Okay. Yeah, let's try it. All right. Very good. And then now this same thing. All right. That's the winner. If you have to specify the language, how will you do it in another one? It's fine because all of our tests always run. Well, it broke. All of our tests always run with English as the language. Directory import is not supported resolving ES modules imported from we look at the utils, where is it doing a directory import? Let's see. Utils.sync, what's in here? Oh, and then we just pull that one in here. It is pulling in i18 util.sync. Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong one. And then this is doing a directory import? I mean, I guess, what if we did async? What's up, Mr. and Mrs. Llama? Welcome in. Um, would that change anything if I load the async one? Export LL instead of L? Hmm. Well, is that true though? Because we are, we're still able to call it there. How do we get LL? Load locale. Ultimately, it's complaining about these imports here. It doesn't like that it it's not specifying the index. This is yet another issue though, because um, with the ESM standard, it can't figure out that we need to import an index. And then the issue is we can't modify this file because this one is also auto-generated. Yeah, this is auto-generated. So, I mean, to get the tests working, we should be able to do this. But the moment we run the tool, that generates this file, it gets overwritten. Yeah. I removed node next in my own TypeScript, but the thing is, directory import imported from, oh, and then if we look in the file itself, it's importing something from a directory? Or is it? Oh, and then, no, each one of the languages now tries to import it from a directory there. Great. Great. What if we just do it manually in our node file? So this does load all your locales. We don't actually need to do that. We just need to do into callers. Thank you for the prime. Yeah, I think this will be better to do, Veeb, than update all of the other ones, as if I only import English in the node one, because I know that's all we're going to use. So over here, instead of calling load all locales, we can just specifically import the English locale. Where are we? That, and that, and that. Okay. Then where does load formatters come from? Which is this. And then init formatters comes from formatters. Hopefully. I need to make sure that I'm doing all these imports right. So oh. And then what is init for? Init formatters just takes en, so it loads the English translation. Is this better? Let's see. This is better. Uh, basically, oh, thank you, Phoebe. We basically just wrote our own little importer specifically that only imports English because, I mean, maybe I'll leave a comment here. This is only used by Playwright test. Do not import in anywhere else. Because basically what we've done, I mean, I know I've been silent as I've been working through all of this, but basically now when we import this thing right here, it's specifically getting the only the English translation. That's what's happening here, because over here we're importing that from our node one. Great. And type 1. Thank you for the resub. Everyone should type 1 in chat. That one, I think I have a coding one too, or did I get rid of it? Yeah, there it is. Can I change the locale and console log the translation just to check? Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So, well, honestly, let's just console log the translation here. So, this is the button text. Whew. No, we won't have to test it for each language America 2050 because our end-to-end tests are only running for English. We have type checks that'll basically make sure that we have the correct translations specified and set and everything else. But when we run our tests, we only ever run them in English. So in our Playwright config, we've actually set the browser locale to English. So that's the only thing we're testing. Yeah. No, we don't want to run tests for each language. We only want to run the tests for English. Because it's and I think this is also comes down to like a testing strategy and a test philosophy is like we don't want to test the typesafe i18n library. We're going to assume that they have their own tests, and we're going to assume that that library we're using works the way that it says it should work. That's a good point, Fun Planet. Like if we want to do tests later on for like right to left, then yeah, we'll have to update this, but it won't be too hard because basically what we'll do is over here, now we can also import like a right to left language. Oh, well, the thing is if we change the browser locale, it won't fail because we literally only have the English translations available. And so this is always just going to fall back to English if the browser locale is set to something else. You know what I mean? I use Copilot sometimes. I haven't used it a lot lately. But it is bringing in the English translation there, so I can at least assume that that's working. Okay. Let's write more end-to-end tests. We have 4 tests right now. So the initial page is loaded. We make sure that the title of the app is there. The user clicks log in. We make sure that they get redirected. A brand new user arrives at the site, and we make sure that they can onboard. And so I think the next test here would be, can we visit the create list page and can we create a list? So let's write an end-to-end test for that. I also want to think about, yeah, so at this point we'll try to see if Copilot can generate some tests for us, but I want to think about like a layout here for where we specify our tests. Because right now it looks kind of messy. Not messy, but like it's going to get out of hand the more tests that we write. So where do we put that? For now, let's just create a new one here. That's like create list test. Yeah. And initially we'll log in the user. And okay, so this also comes down to or not comes down to, our tests are like dependent on each other. Like this test for create list can technically only run after the onboarding test complete, because this is actually like changing the user in the database. So this is something we have to think about. If we don't want the tests to be dependent, then like each test should potentially create its own user or have its own user that it's testing with, because otherwise they're going to interfere with each other. So let me know if you have any suggestions in the chat. What should we do? I don't know if it's possible with Playwright to say like, hey, these tests are dependent on some other tests. Because these are end-to-end tests, I would think it's okay to have the tests to be dependent on each other, because basically they're testing the full flow of a user. Yes, we're not testing individual components. We are testing the full flow of what the users can do. Yeah, so I mean, like technically, we have a fixture for the test user here. That's basically, so we seed our database with a user, and then we just set our session token to be that, and we seed the database with a session token for that user. But does that mean we potentially need different user types in our fixtures? Because right now, basically, the user type that we have in our seeded data, this specific user is not onboarded. Are you saying we need another user that is onboarded, and then we test with that user, because an onboarded user would be able to create things? And so for our fixtures, we basically have multiple user types that wouldn't interfere with each other. Is that what we need? I think so. I think we do. But that seems like more work. I mean, all of this is more work. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you were here when we were setting all of this up, Veeb, but we are already in a situation where we have saved users, right? But basically the problem we need to solve right now is the tests should be independent. And I think if the test should be independent, we actually need more than one test user, because each user will be testing different things. And so we need to seed the database with users in different states and then use those specific users for the specific tests that we're writing. That seems to make the most sense. Which means we need more than one user here. Like we basically need to replicate this and then change the settings. We have something like users, which is an array of objects like that. But then we replicate this whole thing with a user that has onboarded set to true. We're trying to achieve tests that are not dependent on each other. Now we need a new UUID or GUID. This one. Well, we can reference them by ID. So the user ID is that, and then that, and then that, and then that. Another one. And now our user settings need a unique ID. And our session needs a unique ID. And our account needs a unique ID. What's up to that, JS? Who's rating? Who's sending a rate over? And then our session needs another unique ID. And we'll have one more, which is our session token. This one. Like that. Everything else can actually remain the same. Like, I think it's actually okay that we have two users. I mean, we could probably do something like this, like email to. Something like that. I think everything else can be the same, though. I don't know. I don't think provider account ID has any sort of like unique constraint or anything like that. So if we look at our Prisma schema and we look at account, like provider account ID is just a string. There's no like unique constraints on this. Oh, what's up, Raiders? Someone spoiled the raid, but welcome in, welcome in. Glad to see you all. Hello, hello, hello. Glad to see you. Welcome. This is the coding garden. I'm knee deep in some code right now, but I can talk about what I'm doing here. We're actually writing some end-to-end tests, some integration tests, and it's tricky. It's tricky. We're trying to make sure that our tests aren't dependent on each other. Who spoiled the raid? I mean, we don't gotta point fingers. We don't gotta point fingers. I write a lot of JavaScript and TypeScript here, but yeah, thank you so much for that raid, Primogen, and shouts out to the Primogen. Welcome in. Welcome in. What were you all working on? Language comparison. Lecture written in several languages. Fascinating, fascinating. But yeah, welcome to the coding garden. I like to write code. I do a lot of live coding. I code things live. But right now we're working on this app. We've been working on it for a while. That allows users to create lists of YouTube channels. Here, I'll show you what it's all about. And then we're writing end-to-end tests for it. 500 error? Is our database running? What's happening? What's this? Oh, our coverage reports were running? Give me a second. Give me a second. I want to show you. I want to show you the app that we're test fail. I want to show you the app that we're working on, and then we can to set the context for the test that we're writing. But Yeah, basically the tests that we're about to write are that a user can create a new list, but let me show you that. And we've got Docker going. Oh, who stopped the Docker containers? Come on. This could use some tests. That's exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. But let me show you. Let me show you. Okay, now the app is running. Good, 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 good. So this app is built with SvelteKit. Which is a meta framework that uses Svelte and can do server rendering, and it does file-based routing and stuff like that. Clean up your ports. So this is SvelteKit. And then we are using a UI library called Skeleton. And we're also using Auth.js. So Auth.js is a port of NextAuth that works with things that are not just Next.js. So that's all the stuff that we're using. And then this is the app. You can click login. It does the redirect. It brings you back to the app. Right now, we have a test that makes sure that happens. That's great. And then you can create lists. So this is the test we're about to write. I don't know why every time I restart the app, that happens. But this is where you can actually create a list. You can give the list a name, description, and then search for YouTube channels to add. But let me show you an example. Actually, we'll create a new list right now. We'll put the Primeagen on it. The Prime channels. But the idea here is you potentially follow certain creators that have multiple YouTube channels, like the Primeagen. He has the Primeagen channel and the Primetimeagen channel. So what I can do here is I can create a list that has both of those channels in a single feed. So if I create this, the description can't be empty. If I create this, now this reaches out to the YouTube API, grabs all the metadata, and now we have a single page with both channels all on a single page. So that's like one example of a thing that you could do. And then you can click on it, you can watch the videos. We have a lot more features we need to add. Like we need to render out this description, add filtering, pagination, but let me show you more examples. So like I like to watch, everyone's like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. I like to watch Safety Third. Anyone here watch Safety Third on YouTube? Where's that list? We need to clean up the UI a lot. Like it needs a lot of work, but Safety Third has William Osman, the Backyard Scientist, Alan Pan, and Niall Red. They do a podcast called Safety Third. But this list takes all of their channels and puts it into a single feed, right? So you can see William Osman and Alan Pan and all of that in a single feed. And then you can do other things like cooking channels. We were updating this earlier. So these are all my favorite cooking channels. We've got Babish Culinary Universe, Maddie Matheson, Claire Saffitz, You Suck at Cooking, Bon Appetit, and it's all those cooking channels in one feed. So the idea is you basically can create your own feeds of content, because like the way YouTube works is mostly algorithm driven, right? But this basically allows you to say, hey, these are the channels that I want to watch right now, so you go to that list. And then eventually, once we deploy, you can actually share this list with someone. So if you make the list public, you can just share the URL with them, and then they can get this feed. So that's what this app does. And we've been working on it. I think this is day 18 of working on it. We work on it every Friday. But it's a lot. It's a lot. So it's not just the thing about software development is it's more than just features. Like there's so much that has gone into this app. Like we have internationalization. I mean, it hasn't been translated yet, but we've set it up so that anywhere we're accessing or anywhere we have text, we are using the internationalization tokens. So basically all of the text throughout our entire app is specified here, and then everywhere in the app where we need the text, we pull it in from here. So it's like, this is like a single source of truth of the text. And we're using a library that makes it all type safe. So we define our base translation in English, and then every other translation pulls those types in and we'll get type errors if a specific language doesn't translate a specific token. So right now we're cheating and we're saying, okay, just default to English, take all of the translations from English and put them into German. But if we don't do that, now we get a type error. And it's like, hey, you have a bunch of translations that you haven't specified yet. So yeah, we've got internationalization. Let me know in the chat, anybody that's been here, what else do we have? Oh yeah, so like because we're using that library auth.js to do the authentication and authorization, but we wanted to customize it, right? Because you don't always want like the default user info that comes out of the box. So we did some heavy customization to make sure that like when a user logs in, we have extra information about that user, like their settings and some other things that we might want to use. So we did some heavy customization of auth.js to make sure that we get all of our session data that we want. Oh yeah, we can talk about the tech too. So we're using Prisma. I mean, we had an entire stream dedicated to the database design. And I wrote a tool that actually generates the entity relationship diagram. So basically, we have a plugin with Prisma that will take our Prisma schema and then generate an entity relationship diagram from it. So it's nicer to look at. There's a lot in here. There's a lot, honestly. There's so much. And then like the past few streams we've been setting up tests. We have tests with Playwright. Here I'll run the test now. But one of the tricky parts about all of this testing is first of all, the data is stored in it's thick. There's a lot of stuff in here, but the data is stored in a Postgres database. So when we run our end-to-end tests, we need to spin up a clean Postgres database. So that's one of the things we worked on 2 streams ago. And also we need to spin up a clean Redis database. So all of the metadata about the YouTube channels are stored in a Redis database. It gets cached for 24 hours. So you'll notice when I go to a specific one, like this, I didn't see a loading spinner. And that's because we put all of the YouTube metadata in a Redis database. Right now, when we need to clean this page up, but right now it literally has everything. Like we can go all the way back in time to 2 years ago, and we can see like the Primogen's first video. But all of that metadata is in a Redis database, and so part of the end-to-end testing is every time we run the end-to-end test, we want to spin up a brand new Postgres database, a brand new Redis database. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It feels like the app is in its infancy, but when you put it like this, well, it's like we've put so much work into it. This is my break timer. It pops up every 10 minutes, and it's like, hey, take your hands off the keyboard. But yeah, there's the code is open source. It's been all of the code has been written on stream too, so you can view the code over here, and then all of the live stream VODs are in this YouTube playlist. And so today's technically day 19. We only work on this every Friday. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of getting tired of it. Like, we've put so much work into the app, but I think we're in a good spot though. So last time we set up code coverage reports. So right now our test code coverage is really lacking. We're only at 54%. And so that's what we're working on today is we need more tests to test like the creation of lists, updating of lists, that kind of thing. But we set up last time that when I run the end-to-end tests, this is going to spin up a Docker container with the Postgres database, spin up a Redis container, migrate the database to create all of the tables, seed the database with some text fixtures, and then now the tests are failing because this is exactly where we were at. We are, because we're at a point where we need another test that needs a user in a different context, because we have tests that make sure that a user, when they click login, it redirects them to YouTube. We have tests that when a new user logs in, they have to go through the onboarding screen. But when you have a bunch of tests like this, they are potentially going to be well, they are going to be run in parallel, which means if you want to do certain things that are potentially dependent on other tests, you could run into issues. And so what we're doing right now is we're going to seed the database with multiple user types. So that way we can test all the user types in parallel. Like one user type can be tested for onboarding, the other user type can be tested for like creating lists, and then like another user type could be for testing like visiting lists, and it all could happen in parallel because they're in different contexts. Yeah, so if you want to run it, you'd have to run it locally right now. We haven't deployed this yet, mainly because there's if you have an app that uses the YouTube API, there are some things you have to worry about. Like you have to have a good privacy policy. You have to have why is everything's broken? Everything's broken. Wait, are our tests spinning down? Oh, you know what? Yeah, when we run the end-to-end tests, they kill the Docker containers. But right now it's actually killing my dev containers as well as my test containers. We need to fix that. There's so much. But welcome in, Raiders. For those of you that stuck around for me to explain all of that, I appreciate you because it's a lot to explain. And thanks for hanging out. But now we're gonna get back to getting these tests written. And before that, we need to seed the database with those test fixtures. So first of all, let's fix the fact that the end-to-end tests are killing our dev containers. So we have a bunch of npm scripts, and that's exactly how things go on Twitch. Yeah, I just got here. Can you just like recap the last 6 hours of work? All right. So when the tests run, they do npm run docker down test. Docker down test says docker compose test down. So it should only bring those down, the test ones down. It's possible that we need to give them a different name, because so if we look at and that's the other thing. So with Docker, we have multiple compose files. We have a base file that does all the stuff that's shared. And actually, I was actually really proud of this. We set this up when we were doing the end-to-end test setup. I've done a lot of test setup where you have like this separate script that's checking to make sure, well, is the database up and is it ready? But we figured out how to add these health checks, so it's like just built into Docker. We don't even need a separate tool for it. But yeah, we have the base config. And then we have this, but I think what I actually need to do is I need to rename these containers to be like db test and redis test. So that way, when it spins the containers down, it references them by name. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to spin up the dev containers, and I want those running in the background all the time, because that's what I'm like, these dev containers are what I'm using when I'm like doing my dev testing in the browser. But then when I run the end-to-end tests, compose uses the directory to namespace, so since they're in the root, they are the same name. Oh, okay. So I mean, and this is potentially the error that I'm getting here now. Failed to remove listed default. It has active endpoints, and that's because I have these containers running here now. Do I need to give it like a different network name? Yeah, I mean, or like container name or something like that. So when we run this Docker compose file, how can I give it a like a unique name, so that it doesn't override with the dev containers? Anybody know how to do that? Because for whatever reason, it's using like the default one, which is listed default. Docker compose rename network. That's ChatGPT. How to customize the network name in a compose file. networks, container name here. I think I need to specify a separate network though, because that's the error that I'm getting right now. Then we create a test network, and then on each one, we tell it to use the test network. Maybe? Will this do it? Let's see. DB test refers to an undefined network foo. That's good, because I copy pasted it. Oh, they're running. It failed though. Okay. Port is already allocated. Oh. That makes sense. Yeah, so that makes total sense, because if it's, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier as well, if our dev containers are running and they've exposed those ports, then technically, if I spin up the end-to-end test, they need to use different ports. Man, this is complicated. Okay. Another reasons why you would run the tests in the container. Yeah, we talked about this last time though. So like our tests are technically running on my machine, not inside of a container. But if we run them in a container, then they would have access to the same network and we wouldn't have to expose the ports. Let's see. But yeah, like you can see here that the base config is exposing these ports. So, is this Bootstrap? This is Docker. Is this Patrick? No, this is Patrick. Okay, so what we could do is we could specify a different DB port when the tests are running. And that should fix it. It should fix it, but right now we don't have it set up where we're loading different environment variables for when we're running tests. But we probably should. We should have like a .env.test. Just run Docker compose down before throwing end-to-end tests and spin. Yeah, well, it's not unconventional. It's just like that's the easier route. We're like, don't leave your dev containers running. But I want to be able to run the end-to-end tests with my dev containers still up. I think that's the main issue. Hard code it for now. Yeah, okay, let me hide my screen for a second. I'm just gonna change the DB port to be 5433. And the Redis port to be 6378. And if that fixes it, then we know that those two ports we need to change. So I changed them in the env. That was it. That's it. Okay. 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 We can do this, everybody. We got this. I think the right thing to do, like the proper developer thing to do, is to create a separate .env specifically for tests that has different ports specified. Let's peruse through the code a little bit though to see like where this env is loaded. I remember we set this up either last stream or 2 streams ago to load the environment when the tests are running. So like if we look in our Playwright config, yeah. Why don't I do 5433 instead of DB port? No, honestly, that's probably the way to go. When I spin up the containers, just specify those 2 environment variables, at least for right now. Because so here's what we'll do. When we spin up the test containers, we'll do cross env DB port 5433 and Redis port. What's the Redis port? 6379. We'll do a 6378. How does cross env work? You just specify the command after it. Yeah, so specify those two environment variables, then run it. Let's see if that works. Don't understand the ports. Like you don't understand what a port is or why I'm specifying these ports differently. Did I not change? Oh yeah, so I did 5433 and 6378. Let me double check that my env is back to normal. Yeah, my env is back to normal. So I guess what I don't know, and we're gonna find out right now. We're gonna try it and see. Will Docker use the values in the .env file and then overwrite the ones that are specified on the command line? That's what we want to know. Let's see. This works. This worked. Yeah. If we just real quick, let's get the test to pass. We're gonna get rid of the seeds things that we were doing. So this should get the test to pass. We can also see, yeah. So now we can see that our dev containers are running, but now our test containers are running as well. Yeah, I reverted the env. This isn't good. Unique constraint failed on fields ID. Let's just double check. First of all, let's spin down the containers. All the containers go down. And let's also rename our dev containers to have the name dev in them. So we'll do db dev and Redis dev. Just to see, let's see, will our tests pass if the dev containers aren't running? Oh, well, yeah, okay, so here's the issue. So I think we need a separate test env file because this is specifying the DB port here for the container, but we also need to specify the ports when we spin up the app. So, I mean, for now, we can just add it on to the list. Here. But this is a lot to just add more of. But that sets the values. Oh, then we need to do it now. See, this is why it's going to get out of hand because we have to specify it in multiple places. We need to specify the port when we seed the database, and then I think ideally those values will still be set when we run Playwright test, but I guess not. That's a very long command. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. If this works, we should refactor to have like a dedicated test env. This is a potential issue with Prisma DB seed. No, because we need to specify the environment variable when we do the migrate. Oof. This is it. Okay. Okay. It's working. I don't like what we did though. It's way too convoluted. There's like way too much extra stuff. But our tests are passing now, which is good, or at least they all should. Oh, but we were in the middle of writing a new test. That one might be broken. Yeah. Okay, so CatDevMan says the idea of running the test inside a container is a pretty good one because you could just expose the ports only to that test. Yeah, I think that basically we have two options now. Our first option is to create a separate env that is only used for testing. We're probably going to eventually need that anyways. But the other thing we could do is just run the tests inside of a container. And when you do that, they will get access to I guess we'd have to do both though. We could create a test container that does the test running, and we'd have to create a test env file because at that point the host name would change. It would be like db test when the tests are running in that container. We should probably just do that. Honestly. But yeah, that test failed. That's fine. We're what were we doing though? Oh, we were making, yeah, so this test technically would fail because the user was already onboarded. Let's just delete that for now. And then one last test is, can we start up the dev containers and run the end-to-end tests? So we've got our test containers. Wait. Oh, I did the wrong. I spun them down. Okay, so you can make the containers the same name and run them as a separate project. All right, I've never done that before. Is that just a setting in the Docker Compose to give it a different like project name? There we go. Our tests are passing now. Is this worth it though? Is this worth our time? Here's the thing, and this is, I mean, this is day 19 of working on this thing. It's like if it's not one thing, it's another, right? Like we're technically not even working on any new features right now. Now we're literally just doing DevOps. We're literally just trying to get these end-to-end tests running, and now we have to potentially create. What were we saying? Oh yeah, we need to potentially run the tests inside of a container. Day 19. I mean, well, wait. Okay, so 19 divided by roughly 4. I mean, we've been working on this for over 4 months. Technically only 19 days, but 4 months. Yeah, so I think you make a good point, CatDevMan. Like basically, in test, don't expose the ports, run the test inside of a container. Season 4 of listed. All right, let's try to run the tests inside of a container. The issue with that is, well, not issue, we're now going to have to create a Dockerfile because we need a container that will then run the test script. I mean, basically, a container that does like does this. It'll run the migrate. It'll do the db seed, Playwright install, test. Yeah, so basically this whole section here, we need a Docker container that does that. Let's do it. Let's do it. Those could be separate containers, like the one that runs the migrate and then the one that does the seed. Or, I mean, I think I'm thinking it makes sense to put them all in one, but let's see. Also, should we create a folder for our Docker files? Cat dev man, you seem to know what you're talking about. Would we do that? Like have a folder for our Docker files and then specify all the settings there, or do we just do it inside of the Docker Compose? Because we could do something like pull from the node image and then just have a script that runs that like has access to the code. Yeah, basically we need a Docker file that wraps up the entire app so that it can be run inside the test container. Sounds like a lot of test containers. Yeah. Docker files set your context. All right. Honestly, though, I guess it does make sense to just have a Docker file that spins up the app. But there is someone that's been working on a PR, though. This is the other issue is this PR has been open for a while and I haven't merged it in. They've been trying to Dockerize the app. How is this easier than an env.test? It's not, but I think it's better in the long run. And the issue is with this, we're also going to need an env test. So just test the API. Yeah. Why am I not using test containers directly? I'm not familiar with that. Oh, someone did you mention this at one point, Rugbear? Somebody mentioned this at one point. I've never used it before. Lightweight throwaway instances of common databases, web browsers, or anything else that can run in a test container. But what does it do? Oh, I see. Like you literally write this code from inside of your this would be like in your Playwright setup. You literally just have a one-liner that spins up a container. I feel like we're already a bit like too far down the path of specifying Docker Compose files and stuff like that. Because basically that's what this would be a replacement for that. Instead of having separate Docker Compose files, we just have a test file that actually spins up the containers without needing a Docker Compose file. So that's a thing. I'm not gonna do this for now. Yeah, but bring it up in stand up. let's table that discussion for later. We're gonna take that discussion offline. But I wanted to look at this. I wanted to look at this PR because Kareem has been working on a Docker file, basically. Should I just merge this in? I think there's still a discussion around it, though. Let's just merge this in, and then we'll modify it ourselves. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion on this one, but here we go. YOLO. Doing it live. I mean, it's not that bad. It literally creates two files. It creates a Docker file, and it creates a production Docker Compose. All right. Cannot pull with rebase. You have unstaged changes. Oh no. Oh man. Coding is hard. Coding is so hard. It's a lot of config files. Yeah. Oh, so honestly, okay. So there's been some controversy around should you use commit hooks. Here's the thing: if I'm working on a feature and I don't need to run the test because I know like this is literally a work in progress, I'm literally working on the test right now. Just use no verify. That's totally fine. But for other scenarios, it does make sense to run our git commit hooks. Yeah, I could have stashed. I could have done a lot of things. This is fine though. Yeah, these are all git aliases. If you check out my dot files, it has all my aliases. But they're very similar. Actually, yeah, no, I set these up manually, but they're very similar to the ones that you get with Oh My Zish. So GA is or GAA is git add everything in the current directory. GCM is git commit. What else did I use? GSS is git status. Yeah, you can contribute. I do accept pull requests, but it's tricky if I have work in progress because like right now, this branch I think has like 4 or 5 commits that haven't been merged in yet. But yeah, technically yes. If you see something you want to work on, I would probably open an issue first just to comment on it. But yeah, I mean you can if you look at the repo, I think we have 22 people aside from or 21 people have had their code merged into this code base, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Good thing there were no conflicts. Yeah, I just created 2 files. Okay, so now we have a Docker file, and I didn't need to write it myself. But basically, this builds the app, and then, but we don't need to expose port 3000, so it just builds it. And then it doesn't need to run it. So we have this container called builder. Does an npm install, copies all the files, and then builds it. And then we take that and just copy the built files over into this container. Do we want it to be production? Do I need to do this? So the thing to think about is when the tests run, and all of this is so that we can have a separate container for the test. When the tests run, they do a build and then a preview. But if we change this to be running in a container, then we don't even need, I guess we could probably remove the web server command because it'll just be running. Because we'll say node run the built files. And we don't need to expose a port, or do we? No, because the test will be running in this container. But if we're going to reuse this for production, maybe we do that. Okay. This seems fine. So this Dockerfile is what we want to use when we specify, let's call it app test. It'll be in this network. Can we set up the other user? No, but I think this rabbit hole needs to be visited first, because if we can't get the tests working here, then I don't think it's worth our efforts to write more tests until we can get the tests running in a consistent environment. Does that make sense? I don't know. We have to prioritize, and I think this is the priority we've chosen. All right, is this how I build this Docker file? If I say context here, use the Alpine Slim images. What are we doing? We're technically using the Node 18 Alpine. Is there a Node 18 Alpine Slim? You could set the separate project name with the CLI. What's the command for that? I mean, that would clean this thing up. I'd love to do that, because then we can just get rid of all of this. All right, build the Dockerfile. And then I need to look up the syntax for Docker files. But basically what we want this container to do is everything here. So, I mean, we'll have to clean it up. We'll have to clean it up. Though we probably should be able to do something like this. Ooh, I think like the issue here is okay, so compose, project name, and then give it a name. The issue here is the migrations technically need the whole code base. I don't think they can just run off of the built code. ODMV is test. Redis port 6378. Okay. If we look back at our built container, though, if it's only copying the build, I don't think it won't have access to the package.json with all of the scripts. There's a property called env file. I'm okay with it using the .env by default, and then this should like override them, right? I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a storm coming. There's some really loud thunder. Okay, is command a thing? And if it is, this isn't going to work. We need to do some other things. Is there like run or something? Entry point and command. All right. Honestly, let's see what happens. Also, what I need at this point is depends on. Use bash dash c. Is this the syntax for depends on? Also, where can I find a reference to like the compose file format? Create a separate Docker stage from the existing one and put the command there. And then specify everything after that? Like this? Depends on. Okay, I got that right. This should be build. Let's see. So now I'm actually gonna back this up so we don't lose our command. Spin the containers down, spin them up, and then after the tests finish, it should just exit. So now our test command is super simple. Just spin the containers up and then they run. Let's see. There's no way this works. We're gonna have to fix some things, but let's see. So yeah, this is building our node container. Probably Phoebe. Yeah, I just wanted a reference to like the Dockerfile syntax. I think we're gonna get an error that there is no migrate command. Let's see. So it runs the build. Connection refused on 6379. It's not using the right port. I think the issue is we actually do need the cross env here. Wait. We also need to specify this on each of these. They don't care about the node env being test. All right, so that should fix the connection issue there. Let's see. Put the env file in the Docker compose command. I thought it's going to pick up that .env by default now. Oh. Wait, why is the build command trying to connect to the database? Okay. Well, is there a env file like this? Yeah. npm run build, and that is actually coming from our Docker file. So the Docker file is doing this. Honestly, to just get this working, what if we did npm run build and then command npm run preview? Set the let's. I don't understand. Like if I do an npm run build right now, it shouldn't try to connect to the database. This is bundling all the files. Why is it trying to connect to the database? I guess because it has to run the code. Wait, does it need to run the code? Maybe because of SvelteKit, it has to run the code to determine what pages it like pre-renders. Yeah, I think I have depends on. So yeah, this depends on both of those. Oh, Sneezy says, I got you. Okay, well, I have to use the restroom real quick. I'll be back. 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll be right back and we'll fix this. All right, everyone. Pretty sure that environments are only used during run and not for build. Okay. Well, the issue right now is the fact that when SvelteKit runs a build, it's trying to connect to the database. So that's a thing. And oh, well, that's why. Or is it? And also, why is it connecting to 6379? Oh, 6379 is the actual port number. So that's also an issue. I see. Okay. So right now, during the build, it's not using this port. That's what people are trying to tell me, which I'm only now realizing. And Anonymous, thank you very much for that gift. That's, yeah, I think multiple people have tried to tell me that, but I didn't realize it. Because it's right now, it's not using these values that I've given it. Right? And then we're doing cross CNV. Do I actually need that in the package.json now? I don't. I shouldn't anyways, because now we're specifying it specifically. Yeah. What's up, Sneeze? You says, I want to learn how to code outside college. Did someone give the link to my YouTube channel? I have some playlists on like learning to code. Okay. Anonymous, thank you for that other gift. Appreciate you. Args in the build section, and then you can put the environment variables there. So here's the thing. It's trying to connect to 6379, which is wrong. We want it to connect to 6378. So the build over here is not using these environment variables. And people are telling me, add an args in the build section. And then you can put the environment variables there. I guess I gotta look at your Twitch chat, because I think you were trying to show me, but... Oh! A good call, Seifa Dev. That's probably that's another thing we need. Well, first of all, we know it's not using the right port number, so we need to fix that. But then we need to also make sure that it waits for those to be available. And we technically have health checks on them, so we want to make sure that the health checks pass. Build, context, args. Okay. This should do it. Here we go. Okay, this is good. So it's using, or is it? No, it's still 6379. It still has the wrong port number. And what's up, Codex? Welcome in. Why would my build use the connection to the database? I was also confused by that, but I think it's because SvelteKit is like optimizing the page renders. It's like figuring out what pages need to be rendered ahead of time, which means the whole app needs to spin up, I guess. That's my assumption. So it's still using the wrong port. To Redis? Yeah, I mean, because there's just like some connection code, like when the app spins up, like no matter what, when the app spins up, it creates a connection to the Redis database. Sounds fishy? That's what it's doing. I also have to put it in the Docker file? Really? Can you like link me to some docs on that? But it's unfortunate if we have to do that. Because it's like a lot of extra stuff. But is it env or is it arg? This one was using env. Let's see if this does anything. Related to code running during the build. Pre-rendering is executed at this stage if appropriate. During the build, SvelteKit will load your files for analysis. Any code that should not be executed at this stage must check that building for app is false. Maybe we just do that. That's exactly what it's saying that we should do. Okay, well, it's got the right port number now. So that's nice. I mean, I guess obviously it obviously would have that because we specified it here. I guess if I do that, I don't need to do that anymore. But what we do need to do is we need to wait on the health checks of these other two. So we need to figure out what the syntax for that is because both our DB and our Redis have a health check. So what we need over here is we need to say it depends on them and it depends on their health check passing. So let's figure out how to do that. Depends on with condition. All right. This is going to work. But also, I think it would make sense to not connect to Redis or Postgres when we're running the tests. One more index. Oh, yeah. Good call. Or not. Line 22. Oh, I need a colon. Oh, okay. Here's the other thing. And I guess I'm not familiar with how Docker works in this sense, but is it actually building this before it spins these containers up? Because if that's the case, we absolutely need to stop it from trying to connect to the database. But I think that's what we're running into. Like, it doesn't even spin up the containers until this is built, and this being built depends on the container, so that's never going to work anyways. Okay. It won't spin up the containers when building. In that case, we need to do a thing. So in our server Redis, excuse me, we should not connect to the database. So we saw in the Svelte doc, so building comes from environment. And then we can check if not building, connect to the Redis database. Cool. I guess what that also means is we shouldn't need to do this. And then there's probably a spot where we this creates the client. I don't think we have any specific code that connects to the database. Let's see if we need that, but let's see. So the app won't pre-render properly. I think that's a problem for future us because right now the Redis client isn't used unless you're actually like visiting a list. This probably happens because you built Prisma client on a different platform. Okay, so now we're running into the Prisma issue. The errors are getting interesting. Query engine library for current platform Linux could not be found. What is it, Codex? Oh. You've never seen this condition thing? Oh, I just found it. Yeah, are we accidentally copying over the node modules? Yes, we are. We need a Docker ignore. Again. And then this is a different error. Prisma client didn't initialize yet. So technically, we want to run the Prisma generate. And I guess we can do that in the in the Docker file. Progress. Yeah, it was a different error. It's happening. It's happening. Okay, so our test container built. Our yeah, it's happening. Now, we are waiting on the test container. I don't like that. I want to see the output of the test container. Like I want to see I don't know what it's waiting on. The command to finish. Maybe that's not what we I mean, I'm probably doing that wrong is the thing. I'm probably doing this wrong cuz I think cuz it's waiting, but I want to actually see the output. So it probably I need to specify it somewhere else because I think technically right now it's like maybe it's actually running the tests, but we don't see that output because it's like running this behind the scenes or something. Create a custom Docker file and paste that command in the Docker file. Nice. I don't understand anything. Yeah, me neither. Sorry. Did I specify health checks for the test container? No. It's just checking these. Check with Docker logs. Docker compose -f. Docker compose test logs. Fatal. Role Postgres does not exist. Fatal. And Blue Spider, thank you for the prime. This is Levy Streams. Appreciate that. Okay. I don't want it to wait anymore. That's a thing. Okay, but I need to know like best practice here. So how do I run the tests in this container so that like when it exits successfully, like we know that it's done. So what's the proper way to do that? Because I think putting it as a command is not the right way to do that. We actually want this like in the Docker file, and also since we're here, I'm going to rename this to Dockerfile.test. So Dockerfile is that we want a Dockerfile test. You put it in the Dockerfile is what you're saying. Okay. Do we want we don't want the test to run on build though. We want this container to I guess it's not what I want. You're right. We want this container to be built and running, and then after that's running, we want another test that like runs against it. So technically, should I create another service, and the service is the one that runs the test after this is running? Does that make sense? Tester. And then this one depends on app test. No, this is the tester. So the tester is the one that is running the it's running the SvelteKit app. Yeah, I think so. We could put this in a script, or we could put this, I guess in the build. And also now the context is dockerfile.test. We want context or we want file? Thank you. That test. Like this? Let's just see what this does. I think the other thing though is now our Playwright config actually doesn't even need to specify web server, because it'll just be already running in the background. What's up, Fab? Welcome in. It'll already be running in the background, and our app test. Oh no, I thought we were specifying the place they were going to. Maybe we do need something like that in our Playwright config. Maybe we don't want a command. Maybe we just want a port. Okay. It just doesn't like that when I don't specify the command. Well, the run is happening in here. We want tests to run in non-production build? I don't know. You can't have multiple command entries. Oh, you're right. These should all just be run. And that's the command. Right? Or no, because preview technically would be running behind this wouldn't complete because it's just like running. Well, then we don't need that. Yeah, because then we can just leave it in the Playwright tests. Because this will run that. And it doesn't need to run the build, it'll just run the preview. Because the build would have already been run. Right? Let's see. We have some background music. I typically don't leave it on just because certain people might have their own music on. So yeah. Additional property file is this still just context? Like, how do I point the build at a specific Docker file? That. Okay. Yeah, so this is not what I wanted either. because now it doesn't show me the actual output. Role Postgres does not exist. Listening to the new Dave Matthews Band album. Nice, nice. Okay, this is definitely wrong. Everything what we're doing is wrong. Shut it down. Shut it down. I think it said file wasn't a valid property. Yeah. I'm seeding a database that doesn't exist on build. Yeah, that's what I was like. Technically, this thing should just the database should just spin up and be ready. It should have all the right stuff. Look at my run entries. Prisma generate, build, migrate. Yeah, we can't migrate. You're right. We can't migrate unless the DB is up, and we can't seed. So, you are totally right. You're totally right. This just needs to run the app in the background, and then those two things that I cut out are the command that will run in the Docker compose. Like that. That makes a bit more sense. So, build the app, install Playwright in here. I think I'm going to do the Playwright install before this so it can be cached. Thanks, Codex. Yeah, I think we had this earlier, but we've been moving stuff around. So that's going to just be running. And then now we migrate against the database. Okay. This is closer, right? Additional property file is not allowed. That. Move the generate and build to the command. Well, then but we can't run preview unless it's been run built. Dockerfile. I'm not running preview anyway. You're overriding the command. Okay, so here's the thing. If I move these to Playwright, there's no command for this Docker container. I guess, is that fine? Is it okay to not have one? Because now Playwright will handle the build and the preview? That's fine, but it'll have a command from the base image. And then we're just overriding the command. Okay. Yeah, but how do I see the test output here? Because right now it's trying to do some stuff. Don't run it in the background. That makes sense. The database is saying this command here. Role Postgres doesn't exist. We have it dependent on that already. And then cannot find module app bash. What? We want Docker to run the command to start Playwright. Oh, we have that. So this is Docker is doing npx Playwright test, and so when it runs Playwright test, that in turn is doing this. Okay, so we did sh. Great. When it tries to run migrate, we don't want it to be localhost anymore. Now we have to specify the DB host and all that stuff. But let me actually give me a second. There are more environment variables we need to override now that it's not exposing specific ports. Yeah, so we want container specifically. Yeah, I used Midjourney to generate this. What was the prompt? It was like cyberpunk secret garden pixel art in the style of Metal Slug. Yeah, you're right. We don't need to expose any ports. I think I'm going to change that from the base. So the base config should not expose ports. Should only expose the ports in the ones that need it, like this and this. So this gets exposed in the dev container. But in the test container, those ports are not exposed. And now the DB host is db-test, like that. I guess we don't need to override those. Postgres database, localhost 5432. Do we have to specify these right here? I don't like that, but let's try it. I think it has something to do with how the node code is bringing in those environment variables. Cross env not found. npx? I guess it doesn't have to be cross env anymore. We're literally inside the container. We can just do that. Does this get replaced? We found earlier that this overrides anything from the .env. I think the issue is when this command runs, it uses the values from the .env and it doesn't use these values. Still localhost 5432. Migrate init. What is migrate init doing? Prisma migrate dev. Why am I bothered with changing the port? You're right. We don't have to do that anymore. You're totally right. We don't have to do that anymore. We were doing that earlier because the ports were exposed. We don't have to do that. Yeah, now that the ports aren't exposed, we don't have to do that. Though, yeah, we don't, yeah, we don't have to expose the ports because now the test container should just be able to connect directly to it. The only difference is DB host needs to be set. So that's fine. I mean, honestly though, I don't understand why you're setting the env variable to command, because this is reading from the .env and these need to be overwritten. But that's that's the point that I'm getting at. Codex is like, technically yes, they're set, but this command is actually just looking at the .env file, so it would have overwritten anything that's specified there. Because this is like running this is running from node, and it's reading in that .env file. I'm pretty sure, anyways. Well, no, in this case, migrate init is running from Prisma, and then Prisma is using the database URL environment variable. Why not an env.test? We already we want to do that. We do want to do that. Let's think about this though. So if we do a .env.test, we need to write some code that actually pulls that in here. And I think that's the other issue is Prisma, you can't specify where it's pulled in from, I'm pretty sure. That's going to be an issue. Prisma test env. Using .env files. I'm pretty sure. So because this is going to be another issue. So when Prisma is running for test, it needs different environment variables from when it's running in dev, and I don't know if Prisma supports that. Okay, here we go. Using multiple .env files. Install .env CLI. Okay, that's what we'll have to do. And we have the .env CLI. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to create a test file. And then before we run the Prisma commands, we'll load it from the test one. But literally the only thing we need to change in here is the DB host. Oh, and the Redis host. I didn't even think about that. Duplicate the environment replaced with the .env on tests. Yes. Yeah, we're almost there. Okay, I can now show you what I have done. So, our test Docker compose file is slowly getting smaller and smaller, but we're telling it to use my .env.test file, which I created over here, and that has test-specific environment variables, including like the host name of the DB is dbtest, host name of Redis is Redis test. But now, before we run database migrate, we're telling it to use that .env file. And before we run the seeds, and before we run the tests. Let's see what happens. .env not found. That makes sense. Actually, we can just install it globally. Let's do that. In the Docker test file. Wait, I didn't rebuild this. Install it before copy? Yeah, we'll get there. It's going to take a while, but we'll get there. Why isn't this rebuilding the test container? What do I have to change in the command so that it rebuilds the test container? -- build. I probably just need to add that. Force recreate and build. Yeah, we were already doing force recreate, but that didn't build it. It's happening. So we're closer. So we migrated the database, which is great. And then when we try to seed, it errors out. Why can't it seed? Oh, glad to hear it, Sippin' Tears. Committing every day. Very good. Very good. Your database is now in sync with this. I mean, this is progress. So we're running the migrations against the database. But then when it gets to try and do the seed, right here, Prisma DB seed. Oh, NPX. We just need NPX. Yeah, we needed NPX that didn't exist. Wait, are we already doing Prisma generate? I don't know. Seeded the database. Now here comes the Playwright test. This is really annoying. We could probably get rid of that. Four failed tests. Okay, well, we're getting closer though. Let's fix this error. Like, why does this keep happening? Failed to launch Chromium. So before we were just spinning up a Postgres container and then connecting to it from the exposed port. I didn't. We weren't using the CLI or anything like that. So Chromium is failing to launch inside the container. I think I know why. It's a headless environment. Like it can't launch a GUI. I think we need to tell it to be headless. We need to set Postgres user and Postgres password for the PG service to overcome the role Postgres does not exist. Okay. I'm gonna search the web, but Playwright is headless by default. Well, we're doing npx playwright install, which installs Chromium. So for our test, maybe that'll get rid of that error. That broke it. Is that what I wanted to do? Role Postgres is missing. Let me look at my environment variables really quick. Try setting Postgres user to root. Now it's still saying fatal. Role Postgres does not exist. It's storming really bad outside. I guess I don't even have to care about because that error isn't really affecting anything else. Well, let's see. So Vive is saying our health check should be different. Oh, PG is ready. User. I guess we can use the name of the user that we're specifying. DB user. That's what we need to do. Actually, I can just do this, right? Like that. $? I don't know. No, it was able to find it, but now it's saying role listed app does not exist. Like this. Is it double? No, a single should work. This is just like a shell command. Postgres user variable is not set. Wait, what? What did I do? Cool. Password authentication failed for you. I have noise cancellation on. I don't know if you heard that, but I'm pretty sure some lightning struck really close by. That was bad. That was really bad. Um, yeah. Okay, so yeah, how do I specify the password here? You heard that? That was bad. That was really bad. Um, no, that was lightning striking. Can you specify a password for PG is ready? Let's see. Username. Hey, White Panther. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm knee deep. I'm knee deep in some Docker configs. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Glad to have you. This is the coding garden. Thanks for bringing all your friends over. Run away. Also, there's a really bad storm. I'm pretty sure lightning struck just like right outside my house right now. Yeah, what's up, Stony? What's up? Okay, yeah, welcome to the coding garden. I mean, honestly, there's no sense in even telling you what app we're working on because we're like in the middle of like some Docker configs. But I will tell you what we're working on right here. Basically, we are trying to set up a Docker environment specifically for our end-to-end tests in this app that we're building. And the point we're at right now, yeah, I'm skipping breaks today. I got stuff to do. The point we're at right now is we have our Docker container for our Postgres database, our Docker container for our Redis database, and then we have a container that's actually going to be running our Playwright tests. So that's what we're working on. And I guess I'll show you the app that we're working on too. So this is an app. It's called Listed. It will allow. Wait, our dev containers? Our dev containers aren't running. We need to run our dev containers. This app will allow users to create lists of YouTube channels. Docker up dev. Oh well, right now, dang it. So yeah, we're knee deep. We're knee deep because we just adjusted the health check command, which is breaking. Because it can't. Does anyone know how can I specify the Postgres password when it's running PG is ready from the command line? That's what we had before. I think technically that means our health check is actually broken. Our health check is actually broken. But regardless, let me show you the app. Cannot read property of null. -p. It is not necessary to supply correct username, password, or database name values to obtain the server status. However, if incorrect values are provided, the server will log a failed connection attempt. Good to know. Good to know, which means we probably just need that. Oh, no, I don't want to run the end-to-end tests. But what we're also running up against right now, I'm just seeing it in the errors here, is like, for some reason, our database, part of our database is messing up. And this has happened before. All of a sudden, our user settings table is empty. How on earth could that happen? There's not a single line of code in our code base that would delete this row in our database, but somehow it's gone. And now we just have to add it manually. I'm not even going to try to fix this. Well, it recreated the Docker container, but all of the other data is still there. Like I'll show you in a second. All the other data is still there. Like all the lists we've created and everything else. Because for the dev containers, we do have volumes. Okay, but if you're still here from the raid, thank you for sticking around. This is the app that we're working on. So you can log in with Google and then you can create lists. So for example, I have a list called the Coding Garden Universe. Because I have two YouTube channels. I have my main channel, and then I have my archive channel. You can check those things out there. But this one page shows me all the videos from both channels, and then like you can click on a video to watch it. But what we were showing earlier is all the other kinds of lists you could create. Like I like to listen to this podcast called Safety Third, and it has William Osman, the backyard scientist, Alan Pan, and Niall Red on that podcast. So what I did is I created a list that has all of them on it, and then this one page has every video from those specific channels. So this is the app that we're working on. But we're working on Docker specifically. Am I going to keep this site up and maintain it? Eventually, we haven't even deployed yet because we're just doing so much work in development. Okay, so back to getting these tests working. Yeah, we're gonna deploy it eventually, but just it's gonna be a while though. We got a lot to do between now and then. I would say this app has gotten more. We've worked on this app more than FreshSpots for sure. All right, back to testing. All of a sudden, this is so weird to me. Like all of a sudden, all we changed was our health check. Like if we just put this back to the way it was. We put that back to the way it was. Oh, because we're overwriting that. That's why. Here we go. Nice. Tables migrated. Seeds ran. And then now, now we're getting this. This is the health check that's actually running there. What Codex is saying is only run PG is ready. Please stop the containers. There we go. All right. Again, well, here's the issue though. For whatever reason, the output of the build is not being shown to us in the logs. And I think that's because now we're doing the generate and the build inside of here. I think we're just going to do npm run preview in here, and we're going to do everything else over here. Why so many different containers? That's just the way. It's just the way it works. We only have 3 containers. We have a container for our Postgres database, a container for our Redis database, and then a container for the app and the test runner. Okay, I think by that change that I just made, we should see the output of the build now. Yeah, like I wanted to see this, like the build output. We're still seeing this log. Actually, would it be possible to tell Docker to not show us the logs for that container? But the test failed. Test failed. Dash dash silent. Use a null logger. Is that a? I guess that's fine. We don't really care about the output of the Postgres container. But this didn't work. So by doing this, it's trying to connect as root. Logging driver none. Okay, I might just do that. Here's the thing. I think this whole time we thought PG is ready was actually working. My user and then my database. Oh, I did it. I did it. It's not complaining anymore. I think what we saw in the logs earlier was it says something like the password was wrong because it was trying to connect with that password. Yeah. Wait, not that. I don't know. That seems to be what we want. Cool. Okay, so any people that know about Docker, what can I do to make all of this exit if this one exits? So basically, whenever the test container is done running, I want to close everything down. I want to close down these containers too. Is there a Docker setting I can add that like on either like basically whenever this container is done, whenever it either passes or fails, I want to stop everything. What would I do for that? Abort on container exit. Okay. Here's the thing. Add the command as a health check and a wait. Let's try abort on container exit. What I'm worried about though is how, whenever all of this is running in CI, how will it know if the tests passed or failed? Build, force recreate, abort on container exit. Here we go. Oh. Exit code from, and then do I specify the container name? Oh, I was like, why does this have to run everything again? The fact that I changed the package.json changed the cached Docker layer, so this whole thing needed to rerun. And thanks, Codex. Let's look this up. Well, it would technically the build was in the previous runs. The build was cached, so we didn't have to wait. Well, that's not right. Exit code from service name. Great. That's what I want. But this should fail and then exit. Now with the abort thingy. Nice. Nice. And then the last piece is we want the exit code from app test. So that way, whatever the exit code was of app test, that will be the one that's outputted. And then if it fails, then that. So why that's the next step. Why are the tests failing? I don't know. We will search the web for this error. We probably also want to look up just like Playwright Docker. Someone has probably already figured that out before, and then we might be missing something. Can be used to run Playwright scripts in a Docker environment. These image includes all the dependencies needed to run browsers in a Docker container and also include the browsers themselves. Usually I separate the package copy from the rest of the app to avoid having... Yeah, we do that. I think it just has to do with the ordering. Let's see. Copy the package.json by itself, then run npm CI. That's... So technically it... because we're changing the package.json, there's a possibility that we added a new dependency, which means it needs to rerun that. It did what it was supposed to do. We can look at what they're doing here. They're pulling from Ubuntu. This is an issue, and I think we've dug ourselves into a hole here because we're trying to run Playwright inside of an Alpine image. So there's potentially a lot more setup. Playwright on Alpine Linux. This feature is experimental. Hey, some coding guy, welcome back. Welcome back. Change to Ubuntu. Change the Node 18 to Playwright. Yeah, we're back at home coding. And it's a lot. It's very cumbersome what we're working on right now. Yes, okay. This is why our tests should be run in a different container. And I think that's what we're going to do right now. So basically these last few commands, so playwright test, build, and also like the, no, it's in the Node Alpine container. Everyone told me to put it in this container. So we won't do that anymore. Well, it's a container only for the test, but it's also technically building the Node app. I wanted like a fourth container, but you all told me not to do that, but I think we need it at this point. This container specifically is the Node.js app. I mean, okay, so what we could do is we could do this. We could specify this instead of Node Alpine. But then we would need to install Node. Well, I guess it probably already has Node. Let's try it. Let's try it. What's wrong with Alpine? It's not set up to run Playwright. There's a bunch of other dependencies that Playwright needs. Oh yeah, you're totally right. Let's just kill that for now. We very likely won't even have to do this. This is why you don't test. Add a testing stage. Use Playwright and then copy from Builder. Okay. Yeah, but we were just looking at that. If you look at the this specific container, there's a lot of setup involved to allow Playwright to run inside of a container. If you had to start listed from scratch again, is there anything that you would have done differently? Probably not. I think like here's the thing. The reason that a lot of this is so complex is that when you're trying to do something that like when you're trying to do things in a more robust way, it typically requires a lot more. And there's a lot of things we're doing in this app that are just more robust than like if I wanted to speed run listed, I could probably do it in a day or two. And just in terms of the features that we want, the features we want are log in with YouTube, create lists, search the YouTube API, watch YouTube videos. Those features, fairly simple. Those features in the context of a code base that has internationalization, that has like end-to-end testing, that tries to do its best to structure things in like a nice maintainable and reusable way, that is where a lot of the complexity comes from. Yeah. It worked. Our test passed. All right, I'm gonna end the stream now. Is it we just gotta win. We just gotta win. Literally switching to that container type. Test pass. Everyone test pass in the chat. Test pass. First try. First try. I know. Yes. Test pass. Test pass. And if you don't have the test pass emote, sub to Coding Garden right now. Right here, right now. So you can use the test pass emote. Okay, I mean, this is it though. Our tests are running inside of a container. That's fantastic. And you see this little green icon right here? That means it exited with a successful status code. Do I have the dumpster fire emote? No. Okay, but here's the thing. Now that we've already pulled the container, it should be a little bit faster. A little bit. A little bit. Fascinating. Can you show what changed? I literally just changed the from right here. So Node Alpine is what we were using before. Now we're using the container that's already been set up to run Playwright. Yeah. Terrible name for that emote. It's just, I thought it was funny because it's TP, which is like toilet paper. Test pass! It'd be even faster if I took off the force recreate. Well, here's the issue. If I change the package.json, it's gonna have to rebuild. All right. I'm gonna take off force recreate. Because we're already sending the container down anyways. That's the Playwright image we use where we work. Yeah, I mean, we found it in the docs. It mentioned use this if you want to run Playwright in a Docker container. Fascinating. Fascinating. And then, like, I mean, that simplifies our package.json much simplification. However, this is one big long thing. Do we want to throw this into like a script? I don't know. Yes, we do. But how? Like literally like an sh file? Do we have a scripts folder? We have a scripts folder. There's nothing in it. Run tests.sh. Oh, you know what? Multi-line would be better. How do we multi-line it? Can command be multiple lines? Why not stages? Because I don't know Docker very well. That's why. That looks nice. Also, can we do this to simplify it? Is that valid YAML? We'll see. No, it's not. No, it's not. Line 24. Command. Greater than? My syntax highlighter doesn't like it. Oh, that's it. That's the one. No, look at that. That's cool. That's some cool syntax right there. I mean, we could even further make this more readable like this. Syntax error. Unexpected. Cool. So it built the containers. And then that. Do we need to put slashes here? Maybe we do. That wasn't good. Yeah, we No. We didn't want to have to run .env for every single command, but apparently we do need to do that. It's not the end of the world though. Also, is this the right slash, or do we need the other slash? Might as well use a bash file. Well, that's what I was trying to avoid. Remove the parentheses? Did I have an extra parenthesis? Oh, I do. Again. No worries, Tony. Migrate the database. Seed the database. Build the app. No worries, I'm coding it. Thank you for hanging out. Run the preview. Now run the tests. Great. Test pass. I think this is fine. We could have extracted it to a separate file, but I'm okay with this. Why is the log so verbose? That's all the output. Like, you got the build output, the all that stuff. All right, I'm gonna call it here. Containerize. No, we did not. So here's the thing. We might have reduced our coverage because we wrote a little bit more code. But no, we did not increase our coverage today. We just got the test running inside of a container. Let's also make sure that we can still run in dev. Oh yeah, this is absolutely the use case for no verify. Oh, thank you, Pinedex, and thanks for hanging out. Great. I want to make sure our app still works outside of testing, because we didn't test that. So yeah, this spins up the dev containers, and then we've got our app running here. Just joined. Quick recap. It's too much. I mean, we're almost 4 hours into the stream. The recap is we have our tests now running inside of a Docker container. That's the recap. And the app still works. Beautiful. Beautiful. If you want to look at the code we wrote today, because here's the thing. While we didn't make any new features today, we potentially did some things that will help others out there trying to do a similar thing. If you look, I think there's a pull request open for throw papers in the air. Oh wow, the name of this PR is Add Coverage Report. We've done so much more than just add coverage reports. But you can look at our Docker Compose test file. This is mainly what we worked on today, was getting the test running inside of a container. No, I haven't finished that yet, Airtix, and I haven't even looked at that app since I started working on it, but I need to. I guess technically I can remove this backup command, or this extra command now. It's all a work in progress. Stage commits? I don't know what that means. But that's it for today. But if you enjoyed this, definitely come back. But next week, I'm going to be in Amsterdam. I will be in Amsterdam next week, so there will be no listed stream next week. But hopefully there will be some IRL streams from Amsterdam next week. So definitely drop a follow if you're interested in that. I'll be at JS Nation and React Summit. And I might also do an IRL stream from React Summit. I'll probably like from the expo floor or like at the after party or something like that. Nice. Yeah. And so if anybody wants to potentially meet up and hang out before or after the conference, join the Discord. So we have an Amsterdam meetup channel in the Discord. And if you're interested in meeting me or saying hello, find the channel, Emoji React if you're going to be there. We'll have more details next week once we figure out interest. Some good Dutch, maybe. I don't think I will though. I like to. Well, I don't even know if you're referring to the thing that I think you're referring to, but I think you are. I don't know. And thank you, Irasum. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. It'll be my first time in Amsterdam. So yeah. Oh. Yeah, no worries. Honestly, I hope to do like a European tour at some point in the future and just meet up with anybody that wants to meet me, that kind of thing. But yeah, if you join the Discord if you want to meet up, and I think that's it. Beware of all the bikes. Yeah. Other Twitch people are also going. Oh, I had no idea. I'll have to meet up with them. Are you asking if they are going? I don't know. I refer to the thing. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, the other thing is, first of all, it's not as novel because it's technically legal in Colorado and a lot of other U.S. states as well. But I'll be traveling solo, so I like to have my wits about me. So that's another thing. Okay, but that's all. Thank you we had a ton of raids today. Anybody from the Primogen, if you stuck around, I appreciate you. Anybody from White Panther, if you stuck around, I appreciate you. We got quite a few new follows today. So thank you for all those follows, everybody. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Follow me over on YouTube. Follow my Twitter. And let's go on a raid. If you are a sub, you can use this raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. And yeah, I'll see you next week. We got some work done. I feel somewhat good. We didn't get any new features, but we at least got Docker going. That's a thing. Alrighty, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.